Good evening, everybody. I hope y'all had a blessed Mother's Day and hope everybody is doing well and covered with peace. So I came back tonight to pick up where we left off from the other night. We were in First Macabees book or chapter 5, where Yehuda defeated a bunch of the heathen north of Israel, and he had to leave with his brother. So he in order to defeat some of those countries, so he left with Jonathan. He took Jonathan with him, and Shimon was in Galil, and he left Joseph and Azaryahu in charge where they were before, and he gave him a command to not attack the heathen until he came back. But Joseph and Azaryahu didn't listen to their command, and they lost 2,000 people because of disobedience. So we're going to start at 6 tonight. It's just a couple of pages long, and then we'll go and read after this Ecclesiasticus 10. So about that time, King Antiochus, traveling through the high countries, heard say that Elamites of the country of Persia was a city greatly renowned for riches, silver, and gold, and that there was in it a very rich temple, wherein were coverings of gold and breastplates and shields, which Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian king, who reigned first among the Yavanim, that's the Grecians, had left there. Wherefore he came and sought to take the city and to spoil it. But he was not able, because they of the city, having had a warning thereof, rose up against him in battle. So he fled and departed thence with great heaviness, and returned to Babel. Moreover, there came one who brought him tidings into Persia, that the armies which were against the land of Yehuda were put to flight, and that Lysias, who went forth first with a great power, was driven away of the Yehudim, and that they were made strong by the armor and power and store of spoils which they had gotten of the armies whom they had destroyed. So before they had all that, I wonder what they was thinking made them strong. Was it not Elohim? Because they started out as captives. Yehuda and his brothers, the Macabees. And there were only a few of them to begin with. So it could have only been Elohim that caused them to triumph and over the heathen nations that were attacking them. Also, they that pulled down the abomination which he had set up upon the altar in Jerusalem, and that they had compassed about the sanctuary with high walls as before, and his city Bethsura. Now when the king heard these words, he was astonished and sore moved, whereupon he laid himself down upon his bed and fell sick for grief, because it had not befallen him as he looked for. And there he continued many days, for his grief was ever more and more, and he made account that he should die. Wherefore he called for his friends and said unto them, The sleep is gone from my eyes, and my heart fails for every care. And I thought with myself, into what tribulation I am come, and how great a flood of misery is it wherein now I am. For I was bountiful and beloved in my power. But now I remember the evils that I did at Jerusalem, and that I took all the vessels of gold and silver that were therein, and sent to destroy the inhabitants of Yehuda without a cause. Wow, that's deep. My grandmother used to say, you'll see it again. Whenever she would catch me doing something wrong, she would say, you'll see it again. So I read 12 again, but this is what the king said. But now I remember the evils that I did at Jerusalem, and that I took the vessels of gold and silver that were therein, and sent to destroy the inhabitants of Yehuda without a cause. I perceive therefore that for this cause these troubles are come upon me. And behold, I perish through great grief in a strange land. And then he called for Philip, one of his friends, who he made ruler over all his realm. And he gave him the crown and his robe and his signet, to the end that he should bring up his son Antiochus and nourish him up for the kingdom. So King Antiochus died there in the 149th year. Now, when Lysias knew that the king was dead, he set up Antiochus, the king's son, whom he had brought up being young, to reign in his stead, and he called his name Eupator. It sounds kind of like Europe to me. But I can't speculate on that right now. About this time, they that were in the tower shut up Yasharel round about the sanctuary, and sought always their hurts and the strengthening of the heathen. Wherefore Yehuda, purposing to destroy them, called all the people together to besiege them. So they came together and besieged them in the 115th year, and he made mounts for shot against them and other engines. Howbeit certain of them that were besieged got forth, unto whom some wicked men of Yasharel joined themselves. Wow. And they went unto the king and said, How long will it be before you execute judgment and avenge our brethren? We have been willing to serve your father, and to do as he would have us, and to obey his commandments, for which cause they of our nation besiege the tower and are alienated from us. Moreover, as many of us as they could light on, they slew and spoiled our inheritance. As if they had no reason to do that. Like, wow. Okay. Neither have they stretched out their hand against us only, but also against their borders. And behold, this day are they besieging the tower at Jerusalem to take it. The sanctuary also at Bethsura have they fortified. Wherefore, if you do not prevent them quickly, they will do greater things than these, neither shall you be able to rule them. And when the king heard this, he was angry, and gathered together all his friends, and the captains of his army, and those that had charge of the horse. There came also unto him from other kingdoms, and from isles of the sea, bands and hired soldiers, so that the number of his army was 100,000 footmen, and 20,000 horsemen, and 32 elephants exercised in battle. These went through Edom and pitched tents against Bet-Sarah, that they might assault many days, making engines of war. But they of Bet-Sarah came out and burned them with fire, and fought valiantly. Upon this, Yehuda removed from the tower and pitched in Bet-Zekaryahu over against the king's camp. Then the king, rising very early, marched fiercely with his host toward Bet-Zekaryahu, where his enemies made them ready to battle, and sounded the shofars. And to the end they might provoke the elephants to fight, they showed them blood of grapes and mulberries. Moreover, they divided the beasts amongst the armies, and for every elephant they appointed 1,000 men, armed with coats of mail and with helmets of brass on their heads. And besides this, for every beast were ordained 500 horsemen of the best. These were ready at every occasion. Wheresoever the beast was, and whithersoever the beast went, they went also, neither departed they from him. And there upon the beasts were strong towers of wood, which covered every one of them, and were girt fast unto them with devices. There were also upon every one 32 strong men that fought upon them, beside the Indian that ruled him. As for the remnant of the horsemen, they set them on the side and that side at the 2 parts of the host, giving them signs on what to do, and being harnessed all over amidst the ranks. Now, when the sun shone upon the shields of gold and brass, the mountains glistered therewith and shined like lamps of fire. So part of the king's army, being spread upon the high mountains, and part on the valleys below, they marched on safely and in order. Wherefore all that heard the noise of their multitude, and the marching of the company, and the rattling of the harness, were moved. For the army was very great and mighty. Then Yehuda and his host drew near and entered the battle, and there were slain of the king's army 600 men. Eleazar also, surnamed Savaron, perceiving that one of the beasts armed with royal harness was higher than all the rest, and supposing that the king was upon him, put himself in jeopardy to the end that he might deliver his people and get him a perpetual name. See, there we go again. Wherefore he ran upon him courageously through the midst of the battle, slaying on the right and the left, so that they were divided from him on both sides. Which when done, he crept under the elephant and thrust him under and slew him. Whereupon the elephant fell down upon him, and there he died. Trying to get a name. Howbeit the rest of the Yehudim, seeing the strength of the king and the violence of his forces, turned away from them. Then the king's army went up to Jerusalem to meet them, and the king pitched his tents against Jehuda and against Mount Sion. But with them that were in Bethsarah he made peace. For they came out of the city, because they had no victuals there to endure the siege, it being a year of rest to the land. So the king took Bethsarah and set a garrison there to keep it. As for the sanctuary, he besieged it many days, and set artillery with engines and instruments there to cast fire and stones, and pieces to cast spears, and slings, whereupon they also made engines against their engines and held them battle a long season. Yet at the last their vessels being without victuals, because it was the 7th year, and they in Yehuda that were delivered from the other nations had eaten up the remnant of the store. There were but a few left in the sanctuary, because the famine did so prevail against them, and they were fain to disperse themselves, every man to his own place. At that time Lysias heard say that Philip, whom Antiochus the king, while he lived, had appointed to bring up his son Antiochus, that he might be king, was returned out of Persia to Madai, and the king's host also that went with him, and that he sought to take unto him the ruling of the affairs. Wherefore he went in all haste, and said to the king and the captains of the host and the company, We decay daily, and our victuals are but small, and the place we lay siege unto is strong, and the affairs of the kingdom lie upon us. Now therefore let us be friends with these men, and make peace with them, and with all their nations, and covenant with them that they shall live after their Torah as they did before, for they are therefore displeased, and have done all these things because we abolished their Torah. Wow, after all those years and all those people being killed and maimed. So the king and the princes were content, wherefore he sent unto them to make peace, and they accepted thereof. Also the king and his princes made an oath unto them, whereupon they went out of the stronghold. Then the king entered into Mount Zion, but when he saw the strength of the place, he broke his oath that he had made, and gave commandment to pull down the wall around about. Afterward departed he in all haste, and returned to Antioch, where he found Philip to be master of the city. So he fought against him and took the city by force. So now he's fighting against his own people. Wow. See the confusion of the wicked? They always turn against each other. That's because of Yahuwah. He'll turn your enemies against themselves. They'll turn them all against themselves, and they'll be fighting each other. And you'll just be sitting back watching. So we'll come back and read 7 tomorrow night. I really hope that you guys take time to read this, because again, they were defending the Torah. And even, their enemies came to the conclusion that, we're fighting them just because they want to defend the Torah, their customs that God gave them. And we should make peace with them because we can't defeat them. But just like the enemy, just like Satan, the spirit of Satan entered back into Saul to come against David again after he had made peace with him. He came back into to this guy that had made a false covenant, made a false treaty and truce when he was down and needed them, because they didn't have any food to eat in their own city, which they had attacked and won over. And up in Zion, they destroyed everything. They destroyed the people, and they destroyed the temple again. Well, they raped and pillage the temple again and made it desolate again. So they decided to make peace with Yehuda. But then as soon as they found food, as soon as they found what they needed in Zion, on Mount Zion, they broke their treaty and started to attack God's people again after they had saw their king die from grief because he couldn't defeat God's armies. Because that was Elohim fighting for them. He's the one that gave Yehuda the strength to do all that he had done up to that time. And he continued to give Yehuda strength. They enlisted other nations. Even some of Israel joined in with them. And they still couldn't beat them. But anyways. So last time in Ecclesiasticus we read 8 and 9, which were very plain instructions on how to keep your wisdom, how to keep your earnings, and so that they'll do you good in your life, so that you can be a good steward over your estate. So we'll start at number 10 tonight. A wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered. As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. And what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are they that dwell therein. So if you have wicked rulers, you have a wicked city, basically. An unwise king destroys his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited. The power of the earth is in the hand of Yahuwah, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable. In the hand of Elohim is the prosperity of man, and upon the person of the scribe shall he lay his honor. Bear not hatred to your neighbor for every wrong, and do nothing at all by injurious practice. Pride is hateful before Elohim and man, and by both does one commit iniquity, pride and hatefulness. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. Why is earth and ashes proud? There is not a more wicked thing than a covetous man, one who never has enough, basically. He's never grateful for anything that he has. He always just wants something more. Nothing is ever good enough, no blessing. Therefore, he trotters over all of his blessings. It's like throwing pearls before swine. For such one sets his own soul to sale. Oh God. For such a man sets his own soul to sale. I've never read that in the Bible. I gotta underline this one. Because people are definitely happy to do that these days. There is not a more wicked thing than a covetous man, for such one sets his own soul to sale, because while he lives he casts away his bowels. The physician cuts off a long disease, and he that is today a king tomorrow shall die. For when a man is dead, he shall inherit creeping things, beasts, and worms. The beginning of pride is when one departs from Elohim and his heart is turned away from his maker. For pride is the beginning of sin, and he that has it shall pour out abomination. And Yahuwah, and therefore Yahuwah, oh goodness, these pages are thin, brought upon them strange calamities and overthrew them utterly. Yahuwah has cast down the thrones of proud princes and set up the meek in their stead. Think about David and Saul. Yahuwah has cast down the thrones of proud princes and set up the meek in their stead. Yahuwah has plucked up the roots of proud nations and planted the lowly in their place. Yahuwah overthrew countries of the heathen and destroyed them to the foundations of the earth. He took some of them away and destroyed them, and has made their memorial to cease from earth. Pride was not made for men, nor furious anger for them that are born of a woman. They that fear Yahuwah are a sure seed, and they that love him an honorable plant. They that regard not the Torah are a dishonorable seed. That's pretty plain. They that transgress the commandments are a deceivable seed. Among brethren, he that is chief is honorable. So are they that fear Yahuwah in his eyes. The fear of Yahuwah goes before the obtaining of authority, but roughness and pride is the losing of authority. Got it? Wherefore whether he be rich, noble, or poor, their glory is the fear of Yahuwah. Whether he be rich, noble, or poor, their glory is the fear of Yahuwah. It is not meet to despise the poor man that has understanding, neither is it convenient to magnify a sinful man. Great men and judges and potentates shall be honored, yet is there none of them greater than he who fears Yahuwah. Got it? I got it. We're all the same in his eyes. but he favors those that fear him. Unto the servant that is wise shall they that are free do service, and he that has knowledge will not grudge when he is reformed. Be not overwise in doing your business, and boast not yourself in the time of your distress. Better is he who labors and abounds in all things than he who boasts himself and wants bread. My son, glorify your soul in meekness, and give it honor according to the dignity thereof. Who will justify him that sins against his own soul? And who will honor him that dishonors his own life? The poor man is honored for his skill, and the rich man is honored for his riches. He that is honored in poverty, how much more will he be in riches? And he that is dishonorable in riches, how much more in poverty? Wow. Thank you, Yahuwah Elohim, for common sense. Thank you for these instructions that you give us to follow, and thank you for helping us to do the things that please you every day, Father. In the mighty name of Yahushua HaMashiach, thank you for leading us and guiding us on the straight path and not allowing any wretched thing to scare us off of our path, or to knock us off of our path, or to lead us off of our path, in the mighty name of Yahushua HaMashiach. Father, guard our children, guard our dreams, guard us as we sleep, Father, because the enemy is coming against us and he hates us with cruel hatred. But you are our defense. You are our rock. You are our great warrior. You fight for us, Lord. You win every battle. You are victorious against every attack of the enemy in our dreams and when we're awake, Father. Thank you for giving us true visions, Lord, in the mighty name of Jesus, for we know the enemy sends us false visions to intimidate us, to cause us anxiety, to try to separate us from you, Lord. But we know that there's no power or principality that can separate us from your love, because you love us so much. And that's why we love you, Elohim. You created us and you created heaven and earth, and we honor you for that today. We give you glory, we give you praise, because you're worthy of all of the glory and all of the honor and all of the blessings, all of the praise. They all belong to you already. We thank you for covering our children with your blood, your Lord Yahushua. Thank you for the sacrifice that you made for us. Thank you for your blood over us. Thank you for rebuking all the enemy's plans against us, Father, in the mighty name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Thank you for intervening in every evil, wicked plan that he tries to devise against us and that he tries to act out against us, Father. Thank you for avenging us when he hurts us, when he causes us harm and pain, Father. Thank you that vengeance belongs to you, and that there's nothing we can do that's stronger than what you can do for us to defend us and protect us and ward the enemy off. And we thank you for this wisdom that you're blessing us with every day. In the mighty name of Jesus, we thank you and praise you for these things, Father. Amen. Good night, y'all.